Let's move on to Fox News editing part of Donald Trump's answer about whether he would release files related to Jeffrey Epstein out of an interview that aired on Fox and Friends earlier this week. Fox News then aired the entire interview with Trump ostensibly without much editing on, I think it was Will Cain's podcast that was uploaded to YouTube, and people noticed that Trump's answer on Epstein was cut in a fairly interesting way. Now, before we roll the clip, I will say it's obviously common practice to splice up long interviews. So you might see a 10-minute package on 60 Minutes, for example, and then actually it was 20 minutes, it was 2 hours of talking, that gets condensed into a 10-minute package or into a 2-minute package for that matter. So there's a lot of splicing. There's a lot of chopping that's done in the editing process whenever you have a big sit-down interview on a major news network. That's common practice. But take a listen to the way in which Donald Trump answered this Epstein question. The way that it was originally cut off was just him saying, yeah, I'll release the files. Listen to what he says after that. Let's run this clip. This is E2 from Fox News.
Some people think that one way to build trust is to declassify things that everyone's talking about. I know you talked earlier about, I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist. So if you were president, would you declassify, you can answer yes or no to these. Yeah. Would you declassify the 9/11 files?
Yeah.
Would you declassify JFK files?
Yeah. I did a lot of it.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
All right.
I guess I would. I think that less so because, you don't know. You don't want to affect people's lives if it's phony stuff in there because there's a lot of phony stuff with that whole world. But I think I would, or at least...
Do you think that would restore trust? Help restore trust?
Yeah, I don't know about Epstein so much as I do the others. Certainly about the way he died. It would be interesting to find out what happened there because that was a weird situation and the cameras didn't happen to be working, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, I'd go a long way toward that one. The other stuff I would.
So that originally aired on Fox and Friends, but was cut off right when Donald Trump said, yeah, I would. And then everything else he said was a major backtrack. By the way, it's incredibly significant news. Anytime Donald Trump talks about Jeffrey Epstein, anytime anyone in a position of power talks about Jeffrey Epstein, for what it's worth, for a news outlet, I think actually to get Donald Trump talking like that about Jeffrey Epstein is a pretty big story. So again, they cut that off. We can put E1 up on the screen. Sorry for going out of order here, but they did cut that off. And some people in media noticed it. I want to highlight another part of what he said. I guess I would. I think that less so because you don't want to affect people's lives if it's phony stuff in there because it's a lot of phony stuff with that whole world. But I think I would. I don't know about Epstein so much as I do the others, certainly about the way he died. It'd be interesting to find out. But yeah, I'd go a long way toward that one. So sort of a typical Trump answer. You don't totally know what it means. It's almost effectively hard to make out. But the editing, I think, where you're just going rapid fire through JFK, yeah, I already did a lot of it. And you get to Epstein, yeah, I would. And immediately, well, there's a lot of phony stuff, less so with Epstein than others. Ryan, obviously Epstein was sort of in that Palm Beach world. Obviously there's that famous footage of him with Donald Trump kind of partying at Mar-a-Lago. Some people have claimed that there was recruitment happening at Mar-a-Lago of girls who were sex trafficked, essentially. So I think it's fairly significant. I think it was a great question from Rachel Campos-Duffy. What happened here? Is this in a way, is this a defense of Fox saying we ended up putting up the whole thing, there was nothing to hide? Or is it them sort of being caught editing it by later uploading the whole thing, maybe not realizing that people would notice the discrepancy?
I mean, I think they got caught. But I think different people made different decisions. I don't think it was, from the top. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to edit this to make it palatable for our seniors who watch on Fox, and then we're going to let the whole part go out on Will Cain's podcast. I don't think they exactly did it that way, but a system is what it does. And the interests of the producers that cut that clip are clear. Like they wanted Like Trump says yes, but I think you could even just, you can't say it's a time question, because you just say,
right.
but less so on that one. Like at least if you put the but less so on that one, you've at least let the viewers know, and you've let them see the beginning of the backtracking, and you can see where it's going from there. Because whenever if you know what Trump's going to do. In other words, he's not going to do anything, and that was clear. You didn't need the other minute of rambling excuses about why he's not going to do anything. He's not. But yeah, so I think they wanted to. I wouldn't think they wanted to keep that from the audience. There's no other way of understanding that. But I think there must be different kind of editorial processes that play out at different levels. Like you can't completely keep an interview out from, say, a podcast or whatever. And then to your point, there's that great quote from, great isn't the word, there's a quote from Trump in the Vanity Fair article that people can find where he's asked about Jeffrey Epstein. He says, Jeffrey likes him young, likes him pretty and likes him young, or something like that. And he really likes to have a good time. You can even hear Trump kind of dictating the quote to his secretary. Like it's a very Trumpian dictated type of quote. And you're like, oh, okay, this Trump knew what was going on here. And so it gives credence to all of the other stuff that you hear about Mar-a-Lago and the recruitment.
There's that quote, and there's also another thing that turned a lot of people's heads. You'll remember this, Ryan, when he said, he was asked about Ghislaine Maxwell and said something to the extent of, I just wish her well. I think that was the quote, I just wish her well, which again, it sort of gives you pause when you look at someone like Jeffrey Epstein, who reporting, not suggests, but reporting really has documented, had links to Mossad and Ghislaine Maxwell as well, through her father or through other channels, was collecting videotapes, was putting other powerful people in extremely compromising positions, potentially to extract policy favors out of it on behalf of other people. Donald Trump hedging on that one compared to others is obviously, I think, a very significant bit. And for a news outlet, this is a big deal. I mean, everyone watches the cut of an interview with the president. I know he's been on Fox many times, but anytime you get a sit-down interview with the president, executives are watching that cut before it goes to air. It's very sensitive on the corporate level. So yeah, I agree with you. I think people made different editorial decisions. The Will Cain radio show aired the whole thing, and good for them for airing the whole thing without cutting it up. But obviously more eyeballs were on the Fox and Friends sit down, when it originally aired. So it does seem like there was something intentional. Yep,
I think so. And so I think, in other words, neither candidate running for president now is going to give us anything more when it comes to Epstein. Then he said, maybe something on, how he died or whatever he said there. He died while Trump was president.
That's right.
Let's not forget that.
Although it's also the Trump, why I thought that was interesting, just quickly while you said that, because that's something I thought about too, is he felt like the intelligence agencies were out of his control, sort of had spun out of his control. And so it was fascinating to me that was the one thing Trump said he would want to know more about and would release publicly is how he died. Because, obviously if you're someone that could potentially be compromised by Epstein, and who knows if he would. I mean, I don't know that Trump is compromised by Epstein because of the fact that he publicly said, Jeffrey likes him young. But there's some reason to have questions about it. So anyway, all that is to say, go ahead.
And not just that, his labor secretary, Alexander Acosta, was the U.S. attorney who cut the incredibly sweet deal with Epstein, and who basically was said, like, I was told he had intel ties, and told to basically make this go away, and then he's rewarded as Trump's labor secretary, so he could start there if he wanted to. Probe that a little bit. Just go ask his own labor secretary what happened.
Good suggestion.
Like who told you this?
If you're watching, go talk to Acosta.
You said you heard this. Who'd you hear it from?
Yeah, no, I agree.
Hey, if you liked that video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to Breaking Points.
If you want to see the rest of Counterpoints, go to breakingpoints.com to become a premium member and get the full uncut show every morning in your inbox and on Spotify.